Hey dudes, what's up? My name is Laventa and this is Autistic Success. And today, actually, I have had a quick idea that I wanted to share because I think it's very, very interesting and actually very important, or I would say essential for a successful autistic lifestyle. And that is that now that I am working on my own business, which I've just started, I managed to quit my old job, and now for a few weeks I have only been working for myself on my own small sweets company. And basically, the idea is that if you create your own business, or while you create your own business, you are gonna be unmasking yourself. So obviously, this video is mostly for people who are like autistic people who are heavily masking. So those of you who have already unmasked, even working a 9 to 5 job, then probably it's not such a big deal for you. But those of us who actually who have been very, very, very heavily masking throughout our whole lives, especially when working a 9 to 5 job, it's very often because it's very, very likely to be required to stay alive in 9 to 5 job to be heavily masking. So if you actually quit or start working on your own project, company, side hustle, freelance business, whatever, but basically you start working on something that is completely yours, your idea, and the whole business structure is tailored to your needs. So not only the idea is something that obviously, which is obviously yours, but and it's obviously motivating for you. So obviously you shouldn't start a business which you hate from the get-go. So it's not only going to be motivating and also tailored to your needs, but basically through this through the construction of this business or project, you are going to be unmasking yourself. At least this is my experience. So basically, I got an OTC diagnosis like 10 years ago, roughly, at the age of 25. And before that, I was just very, very heavily depressed. After that, I was not depressed anymore, but very, very, very anxious because I started masking very heavily. So now that back then I got to know that I was autistic, I started masking very heavily so that I can fully function in society, which was not always the case before my diagnosis. So basically, after getting a diagnosis, I started to making giant progress in my life. I went back to uni and got a master's, got a job, got then a PhD and another job, whatever. So basically, I really started to make giant progress in my life, which was not the case before my autism diagnosis. But the cost of this was to be very, very, very heavily masking. It's a good question whether it was actually required or I felt it was required and I did it to succeed. And I did succeed. I did achieve everything I wanted. But still, it was a huge cost to be very, very, very heavily masking for more than 10 years, which is basically, which means that even though I achieved my own goals, and I think was basically the first video on this channel, those goals were not even mine, really. It was not even me because I was so heavily masking that basically it was, I'm not saying a fake persona, but it was a mask at the end who achieved all the goals. And it was also the mask who set the goals pretty much. So this was is my experience that I managed to achieve goals with very heavy masking, which obviously has destroyed me. It was not really a living; it was more like surviving without ease, without comfort, without real love, without real connection, and without being felt validated and loved and supported and understood. So it was more like, yeah, I can actually get ahead in life. I can actually tick off these boxes which I wanted, but I'm not really living in the meantime. I'm just surviving and suffering. And basically, it all culminated when this year, or last year actually, after a toxic breakup and this toxic work environment, which I managed to leave a few weeks ago. So basically, it all culminated last year. Last year I started working on this small business besides my main job, and this year it got to a stage where I could launch it and I could quit my main job. And now, at the age of 35, I feel like I have fully and completely unmasked, and it has only been possible because I created my own business. So it's twofold in the sense that obviously if you create your own business, then you can work for yourself. So you're not required to work for somebody else, hopefully. And it also means that you are not required to mask. But the point of this video is not necessarily this side, even though this is also very, very important. So if you're not required to work for somebody else, if you're not required to adapt to somebody else's needs and requirements and plans and liking, then obviously you can much easier unmask. But what I am trying to convey a message in this video is more like the second side of it, which is if you create, or by creating your own business, you are gonna start unmasking yourself as you make progress, as you work on your things. Because, and this is my experience, as you work on your business, it's authentic, it's yours, it's real, it's not fake, it's not masked, it's completely tailored to your needs, interests, and limitations. So basically, you are gonna be showing yourself for probably the very first time in your life. At least this was the case for myself. I started presenting myself and my small business, even when it was not even launched. I was just working on it as something that is actually me. It's actually authentic. It's actually original. It's actually non-faked. It's not adapted. It's not masked. It's not like sucking up to fitting into some box or some role somebody wants to put me in. But this is like the real you, like the real person, an unmasked version. Obviously, it's social, business acceptable version of yourself, but I would call it probably a persona and definitely not a mask, because it's not fake. It's just a different facet of ourselves. It's really like, if I go biking, I wear my biking clothes and not my swimming suit, I would say. But it's still me. It's completely original. It's just a different layer on me. And this is now the case for business. So basically, this is the idea that I think is really, really interesting and really, really inspiring. At least for me, it has been a huge breakthrough that as you start creating something that is actually motivating for you, is original, is authentic, you are going to be unmasking yourself. You build like a construction which is evolving with you, and the better it gets, the more it's more progress it has made, the more progress you are going to be making in your unmasking probably. And basically at the end of this process, you are going to have a business which hopefully will allow you to quit your job and support yourself through that. So you're not only going to get or obtain freedom through that, but also you have completely unmasked yourself, because you now have the emotional safety through a business, even if it's not producing that much money at the beginning, which is the case always. You have like a safety base, like a base really, which is you. It's completely you. You present it, and this was my experience. I was so ashamed of it when I first started presenting myself and my company to like strange people, that you're very, very ashamed at the beginning, because it's like your real autistic self. And wow, if my product sucks, if my service sucks, then it means that also my my real me sucks. So it's obviously it's challenging, but it's a really big deal, because you show your real authentic yourself to the public, and create a construction which you can not only like financially rely on. It also creates freedom. You don't have to suck up to and mask for somebody else, but also you are going to be unmasking through the process, because as I said, you show yourself day by day, week by week, your authentic yourself to strangers, and you realize that, wow, actually, it doesn't suck. Even if it's not perfect, it's like it's acceptable. The worst what can happen is really like nobody cares, and even that's like a big win actually, because it means like, wow, actually, I can be myself. Nobody cares that I am myself. It's okay, but it's not forbidden. It's not banned. It's not like something really nasty that shouldn't be done ever. So I think this is like the big revelation, really, that you create a construction, hopefully financial freedom, but most importantly, in the process, you unmask yourself um, through showing your real personality and developing that personality and defending it and realizing that, wow, actually, my real personality is, even if it's not liked maybe by someone, it's completely acceptable. And I think this is a big word for most autistic people. At least this was definitely for me, to think that actually my autistic real self is nothing to be ashamed of, and it's completely decent and acceptable. And yeah, so this is basically, I've already talked too much. This was my idea, which really came to my mind probably yesterday. As now I am really starting to completely forget my old toxic job and completely get in my autistic work mindset, I would say. And it's a really big deal, because it's like it's really giving perspective to heavily masking autistic people. Obviously, it's super difficult to come up with an idea and to make a financially viable business out of that. I'm still also in the process of that, but wow, I think this is a huge life hack. So this is something that definitely worth considering if somebody wants to unmask and create some kind of freedom in the long run. So yes, I am really keen on hearing about your opinion about this and about your unmasking experience, whether you've managed to do it through a 9 to 5 or through a business, or you haven't even started it, or you don't even want it, or you want but you can't. So I'm really interested in your experience, especially about unmasking. I think it's a big deal. I think it's really what breaks or makes the day, after all, for autistic people. And yes, so stay tuned, keep chill and relaxed, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.